There you are. Okay, Anna, you have translated a book now. I will attempt to pronounce the author's name. She's Niviaq Korneliussen.
Niviaq Korneliussen, that's right.
Okay, so she is from Greenland and she writes in Greenlandic. She then translates herself into Danish, and you have translated her from Danish.
That's to English, yes.
About her and the book.
Niviaq is a native Greenlander, an Inuit, and her book was her debut. So she is actually, with this book that I translated, Crimson, which is the UK title, and then Last Night in Nuuk, which is the American title of the book, marks a Greenlander who writes about her own country. And when I translated this book, I wondered, how can I get a book like this out into the world? How does the book world regard a book with this topic of sexual minority? How do I get this book out into the world? So as I want to read this book in a moment, I also want my thoughts go back to the US ambassador to Denmark. He was openly gay, and he was very popular and is still very popular in Denmark, a friend of Obama. So I said, how does this book stand a chance? He said, yes, definitely. We know nothing about Greenland. So this book invites us into a Greenlandic home. And when this book was out, I noticed on Danish television for the first time ever a program on young people in Greenland. And believe it or not, we know very little about Greenland, which is part of Denmark and which has a population of 56,000 people and is covered by an ice cap and has cruel temperatures. And speaking about Greenland, I also have to mention to you the fact that because of global warming, Greenland has now come into the center of the interest of superpowers. And President Trump was interested in buying Greenland 2 years ago. And the new Danish prime minister said, well, you can't just tell Denmark and tell us that you want to buy Greenland. You can't do this to us. So there was a diplomatic, discord for a moment between Denmark and the United States. But because of global warming, this means that Denmark is now into the eye of the world, because scientists from across the world are monitoring very carefully the fact of global warming in Greenland. So we have Russia, a very aggressive Russia, sailing around Greenland waters. We have Norway and we have Denmark, my country, with 5.6 million people. And we have to, this is a completely new situation for us. Well, anyway, Niviaq is the Greenlandic author, I must say. She has really come into the fore. And she has, I can tell you, the Sydney Writers Festival invited her to come and speak to them. And before that, she visited Penn Center in New York, where she took part in a meeting of women authors from across the world. And this meeting, this event at Penn Center in New York was what should I say? I forget the word now. But the one who monitored it all, was India's Arundhati Roy, an activist. What has happened? An activist, political activist and writer. Well, anyway, the editor, the editor of a major Copenhagen paper said that he'd never seen a book like Niviaq's book, and it should be read and should be understood by every parent. So it's all right with you now. I'll read an excerpt from my translation. I was an enigma to my friends. They didn't know which box to put me in. When they began to question me, I began to question them. I began to question why they called me into question. My parents, siblings, and family began to be uncertain about me. They were uncertain about who I was. Since my family were uncertain about me, I began to be uncertain about myself. I was uncertain about why they were uncertain about me. Why do you always hang out with the boys? Why have you never had a boyfriend? Why have you never been with anybody? As they kept asking, I began to question where I should place myself. Since they continued to be uncertain about me, I began to be uncertain as to who I was. I questioned my uncertainty. They needed an answer, and I felt I had to search for it. I found an answer when I was 18 and moved to a bigger town to go to university. I went out one evening with friends, and a young woman I didn't know came up to me. "You're sweet," she said. "Do you have a girlfriend?" I said, "No." "But you're into women, aren't you?" When I said no, she asked me if it was all right to kiss me, and I said yes. I liked kissing this woman. After that kiss, I knew I wanted to be with a woman. I just knew it. The answer was that I liked women. Though I'd answered my friends' and family's questions, they didn't stop asking, "Why are you into women?" Since I couldn't give them any reason why, I began to question the need to question it. I stopped questioning myself. Since I couldn't explain why I was into women, my childhood friends were no longer my friends. The ones I had fun with, the ones I got upset with, the ones I was best friends with, they all broke off with me because of my sexual orientation. Since I was unable to explain why I was into women, my family stopped speaking to me. My mum, who had carried me in her womb, my mum who breastfed me, my mum who brought me up, my mum, my own mum, couldn't forgive me. My dad, who had given me my life, my dad who had tucked me in, my dad who had played football with me. My dad, my own dad, was unable to understand me. Since they couldn't accept that I was into women, I was no longer their daughter. They abandoned me, which was tough. It hurt an awful lot. Now I'm 23. My friends are my family. They don't question anything about me. They don't feel the urge. They don't ask me why I'm into women. They don't question why some people are queer. They support me. They don't desert me. I've fallen in love. I'm with somebody who doesn't have any doubts. I have a nice girlfriend. I love her, and she won't leave me because I'm perfectly fine. She loves me for who I am. I'm not asked anymore. I'm not doubted anymore. I'm not being abandoned any longer.
Thank you so much. Niviaq's book was called Homo sapien in Danish, which is a much better title. It is called Crimson in its UK edition, from the song Crimson and Clover, which she mentions in the book. And in the bizarre way of Americans needing another title, it is called Last Night in Nook in its US edition.